corporate finance world for many years, and I moved back to India in 2014 when the Clean India movement started. I don't know how many of you heard of it, but we were all out on the streets sweeping up the streets. So India has a big problem of trash, and the whole idea was to get each and every person from the ground up level involved, along with the government formulating policies around waste. So while we were cleaning up the trash, we realized that most of the things that we found, surprisingly, were things that, rich people throw away, right? So they were not the waste from, we realized that they were like things like McDonald's packets and chips packets and bottles and stuff like that. And we realized that we need to do a bit more than just cleaning up the streets with a broom every Sunday. So one thing led to another, and I finally joined an NGO to work at the grassroots level in India. I moved to Singapore in 2018, and I realized that this was something I wanted to pursue here too. So I formulated the company in 2020 just to be able to bring more acceptance to food waste composting. That was one area I thought I could focus on. So that was the whole journey. If I have to specifically talk about food scraps, food waste is a very big term. Food scraps, if you look at it as a funnel, food scraps is really like the bottom of the funnel. What you throw away, which is inevitable. Like we can't eat banana peels, and we can't eat apple cores, and we can't eat fish bones. So these are things that are inevitable. There are, of course, many preventable food waste initiatives, which are happening around preventable, like things like from a restaurant buffet, there is something left, then there are NGOs which collect all of that. Or how do we prevent waste from the backs of supermarket shelves? First in, first out, closest to expiry is put on discount so that people buy that. Damaged goods, but somehow I feel that what is inevitable also needs focus, because that is actually what really needs to go back to soil. It's come from soil, it needs to go back to soil, and that is the whole process around circular economy. So I felt that was something that was being a bit overlooked in more urban landscapes, whether in India or in Singapore or many places. We always feel it's a farm activity and it shouldn't be done in urban spaces. So the idea was to, bring more acceptance to it and come up with solutions that could make it simple even in urban landscapes. The principles are the same. Many of you have said that you are composting. When you're talking about community composting, it's bringing on community together. So it is led by the community. It is for the community. The compost is the ownership of the community. Home composting is what I do in my home with my own trash. So I take responsibility for my own trash and my own food scraps. So community is I would say it's a bit larger initiative with more stakeholders and more moving parts. So usually those are like a little harder to devise. But if it does come about, then usually, in my experience, these run longer, because when you have the energy of many people coming together, they sustain over a longer time. It's like one person doing composting at home. They may do it 1 month, they may not do it the next month.
As a company, how do you activate community composting in landscape here? Can you share with us some examples?
Yeah, so actually I started off with just simple social media outreach, getting to speak to people about why it needs to be done, because even if it is a very small portion of, you're only talking about food scraps what is naturally going to get wasted, it is still 50% of what we throw away. So if you go back home and look into your dustbins at the end of the day, you will find that 50% of the trash is actually food scraps. So it is a big sizable chunk, and I started with social media outreach, but eventually I think the word got around, and I also spoke to some community centers and clubs and the local farms that we have here. So they were able to devise some projects. and that's how the whole journey for me started. So there were some where the local farm, like I worked with City Sprouts in the past. I don't know whether anybody's heard of City Sprouts at Henderson Road. So they were a big support, and they would always have me for their farmers market, or maybe have workshops once a month, twice a month, and throw it open to public to sign up. I worked with community centers where would they get cohorts of 30 to 40 families together, and we would kick off the composting session with me bringing in the composter for them, keep in touch on WhatsApp over a period of 30 to 40 days, then maybe come together again with their composters to harvest and see how they have fared. A lot of people don't know what are the different methods. Somebody uses earthworm, somebody uses bokashi. I prefer aerobic. So there are many ways of getting value out of food scraps. Earthworms are really like the best, the fastest, the farmer's friend, and they are the fastest converter. Earthworm, their waste, their poop is directly, it's called black gold. It can directly be used into soil. But in Singapore, we have paucity of space. So earthworm need a lot of pump space, they need a lot of land. They can be stacked up, but they still need a lot of space. A lot of people, urban dwellers, are not comfortable with worms. They're not comfortable with anything moving around in their bins. So I realized that aerobic actually works well, because I work with microbes which you find in your kitchen, like fermented rice water or fermented yogurt or fermented milk. So that has a lot of bacteria which is you can make in your own home and add it to your composter. So I try to I tell them you will not see anything crawling around most of the times. So it's all invisible stuff, and people prefer that. Singapore is not an agricultural country, you know that. So even if we convert all the food scraps that we have, like all our banana peels and all apple cores, and convert it into compost, we'll probably not have the land to apply it to. So as far as composting goes, it cannot really be at a scale where an agricultural, like a country like Malaysia, can have the land to absorb it. We don't have the land to absorb it. So I feel it can only be a symbolic, where we do as much as we can absorb, but we are aware, and maybe in future, what I see is, if not composting, there are other things called biofuel, where we use food scraps for generating methane gas and use it as a biofuel. And maybe that is the way out for Singapore more than compost. So this is actually, I just started on a whim, frankly, and I just wanted to see whether I could come up with a simple DIY composter design, and that touchwood has worked. It can be applied in many other spaces, I think more agricultural lands available.